Here's an idea. No Man's Sky can help us think through the question of whether or not we are currently living in a simulation. Soon, glob willing, the universe-exploring video game No Man's Sky will be released. Developed by Hello Games and skippered by Sean Murray, No Man's Sky has been an object of wonder, curiosity, and impatience since its announcement in 2013. If you've missed the hype, here is the intergalactic dirt. No Man's Sky is gigantic. Players traverse an entire simulated universe exploring procedurally generated planets. There's practically no limit to what you can see. Murray estimates that players will see maybe 1% of what the game is capable of generating. And on top of that, much of the appearance and behavior of things in that universe, planets, plants, creatures, light itself, is emergent. The creators didn't decide how stuff looks or behaves on a planet-by-planet basis. They made systems and rules that generate stuff and decide what happens when various stuffs mingle. Appearances and outcomes aren't designed, they emerge. Like one of my all-time favorite games, Dwarf Fortress, even the creators themselves can't say exactly what'll happen. Unlike Dwarf Fortress though, No Man's Sky is beautiful. Okay, I take it back. Dwarf Fortress is beautiful too, but No Man's Sky is lush, naturalistic, detailed, even occasionally lifelike. The particulars of how they did this are beyond the scope of this video, but Atlantic wrote a great piece and Game Show did a video about it last year. I hope it suffices to say that the answer is math, algorithms, formulas, processing power. So all of this raises two questions. The first we've asked before. If math makes environments, does that mean math is a feature of the universe? Our second question is the following. If we're able to simulate universes of massive lifelike complexity, like that of No Man's Sky, within our universe, should we wonder or worry that our own massive lifelike universe is itself simulated? And if it is, what does that mean? That Atlantic article that I mentioned scratches the surface of this idea, but we're gonna try to get near the bedrock, or at least the substratum. If you know where we're headed with this, I think, simulation or not, the argument alone has an important function which No Man's Sky can help us think through. If you don't know where we're headed, hold on to your potentially simulated butts. Between 2001 and 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom put forth his influential simulation argument. He claims our lives and universe are potentially a computer simulation run by a post-human civilization, one in the distant future and much more technologically advanced than our own. Our universe could be what he calls an ancestor simulation, a simulation of the entire mental history of humankind. So how does Bostrom actually get to this conclusion? Actually, he comes to three exhaustive, mutually exclusive conclusions, meaning we'll necessarily arrive at one of these three outcomes and only one of these three outcomes. Those outcomes are: 1, the number of human-level civilizations that reach a post-human stage is practically 0. 2, the number of post-human civilizations that are interested in running ancestor simulations is practically 0. Or 3, our universe, including our lives and experiences, is simulated. Bostrom lays out his reasoning pretty succinctly. The original paper is pretty readable, boop, if you want to check it out. But basically, if humanity doesn't go extinct, which is roughly speaking his outcome number 1, the rapid increase in the realism of simulations in our own time, No Man's Sky, suggests that super future simulations would be exceptionally realistic, especially if we ever get to the point where we're operating planetary mass computers, if we aren't already. And what's more, as our ability to simulate grows, it seems our interest does too. In order for outcome 2 to be the case, something would have to dissuade post-humans from running a potentially infinite number of powerful simulations, including ancestor simulations. As of right now, it seems likely that if we can, we will. And if we will, does that mean that we, you and me, right now, are simulated?
I'm a computer.
Bostrom himself puts it at about a 20% chance, but lots of smart folks say, yeah, definitely. Futurist Ray Kurzweil questions whether there's even a distinction between reality and simulation. Elon Musk recently said the chances that we are not living in a simulation are 1 in a billion. Also, that he and his brother have agreed to not discuss the simulation argument in hot tubs makes me wonder what the Musk family holiday get-togethers are like.
We would ban such conversations if we were ever in a hot tub.
So, at this point, you may be thinking, okay, sure, maybe No Man's Sky is a step in this direction, but yeah, this sounds like something that you argue with your brother about, potentially in a hot tub, I guess. Does any of this really matter? The simulation argument does have implications, it turns out. One could be that all of this is literally immaterial, and whatever great mistakes we make again and again won't be so bad that a little flip of the reset button wouldn't set it all right. Another is, if we, by some chance, end up the ones creating civilization simulations, is there some moral/ethical imperative to create a lifelike simulation better than our reality? And if so, how do we deal with the existence of simulations better than the real world, which is especially interesting given the recent rise of virtual reality? Also implied by the simulation argument is the existence of, brace yourselves, a higher power. If we're in a simulation, the simulation must have a creator or a programmer, or at the very least, maintenance staff. Bostrom is quick to point out that these figures would probably be naturalistic. They wouldn't be transcendent beings of pure light, unless evolution gets real weird real quick, but still, they would be literally creators. This does something really interesting, I think. The idea of reality reset switches better than worlds and creator figures especially. It all turns the world, our world, the universe really, a highly complex thing about which we are constantly developing a deeply rational and scientific understanding, into something like a story, like a sci-fi or fantasy story, or video game, as the case may be. How so? Well, No Man's Sky exists because we understand how the information that flows in an endless sea of for real natural systems gives rise to their emergent characteristics and interactions. Whether they're made by math or not, we can use that math to faithfully or near faithfully model those things. And those models are astounding. Where the forest near where I grew up is just a forest, a No Man's Sky forest is an enchanted forest. Its artificiality makes it special, sort of magical. The environments of No Man's Sky are enchanted because we, humans, made them. A human is its creator figure, or at the very least, its maintenance staff. The simulation argument, I think, functions similarly to No Man's Sky. It marries the rational and the enchanted, but on an infinite scale, and it provides access to two potentially conflicting attitudes. On the one hand, it supports a scientific understanding of our world. It doesn't replace physics or biology, it explains their existence via simulation, another deeply scientific process, one involving computers, and they're the most rational of all the things. They're built on logic. Literally. But on the other hand, though we may follow the empirical logic from computers are powerful and make simulations to computers will get more powerful and make better simulations, we end up at a conclusion that is ultimately and inarguably fantastic. Maybe that real forest is artificial. Maybe we're simulated. It's an argument for a kind of techno-moralism, transcendence, and even creator figure, which is rooted in technology and experience. It enchants reality. Of course, some folks aren't so enchanted. Talking with inverse philosopher and neuroscientist Ned Block says consciousness is necessarily embodied, having to do with, quote, electrochemical processes in the brain, something more complex than even super future quantum computers could do, he says. And besides, he also says, just as a simulation of a rainstorm isn't wet, there's no reason that a simulation of conscious experience would be conscious experience. Like a good science fiction story, maybe the simulation argument just takes what is the case and extrapolates out to what appears likely, even if it's not. And I mean, even if it were likely, the weird truth may be that ancestor simulations sit at the crossroads of complicated, expensive, and boring for whoever the audience is. My hometown nature preserve isn't enchanting because I live it. No Man's Sky's forest is enchanting because I play it. That's an important distinction. No Man's Sky may be notable for how big and detailed and potentially lifelike it is, but in order to justify the resources it took to make it and to keep it running, it's gonna have to be good and entertaining, which, I mean, time will tell, I guess. Maybe I'm being cynical, but I think the same would go for ancestor simulations. Following the simulation argument's own logic, computers will become more powerful, sure, but also more power hungry. US data centers alone tripled their power needs from 2000 to 2013, so we can imagine that the resources needed to simulate, everything would be unimaginable. And sure, okay, maybe someday post-scarcity free energy, well-funded research, the simulation is the power source and Neo is the one there is no spoon, but now we are stacking speculative super future scenarios, so heck it, let's just all agree to become transcendent beings of pure light. Seriously though, I just think it's more likely that an ancestor simulation would be ad-supported. Like reality.
Hi, it's Fitz with Slap Chop. You're gonna be in a great mood all day.
Simulated existence is most likely, I think, if it's appealing, and life, our lives at least, they may be dramatic, but they aren't entertaining. The growing intricacy of modern video games supports this point about as much as it supports the technological aspects of the simulation argument itself. For all their visual complexity, there's a point of diminishing returns when it comes to mechanical or environmental complexity. Writing for Gamasutra, RimWorld developer Tynan Sylvester put it pretty well. He says, we can't blindly simulate everything because most things are boring and people can't understand over-complex systems anyways. Writing for Backchannel, Logan Hill puts it very succinctly and says, I can't imagine an exec who would greenlight this planet. Really, for most people, deep down, I don't think the simulation argument is about what's actual, though it's often dressed that way. I think we're talking conveniently about what's virtual. We're talking, as Michael Saylor put it in his book of the same name, as if it were the case. The simulation argument brings our lived experiences closer to No Man's Sky or Minecraft, or, well, hopefully not Dwarf Fortress. The simulation argument enchants the actual world like it's a video game without requiring we sacrifice our modern science-based, or at least science-themed, sensibilities. No Man's Sky, at the same time, provides a whole universe interior to our own, a literally virtual one to explore from the comfort of our homes. Imagine what's next, perhaps living in that universe. No Man's Sky provides a view to endless simulated planets, sure, but also a view to games which function like life. And who doesn't want life to be like a game? What do y'all think? Do we live in a simulation? Is there something about No Man's Sky and all of the games that are probably gonna come in its wake that lets us think through what it might be to live in a simulation or to create simulations? Let us know in the comments and I'll respond to some of them in next week's comment response video. In this week's comment response, we talk about your thoughts regarding cyborgs. If you want to watch that one, you can click here or find a link in the doobly-doo. We are going to be taking next week off, so the next Idea Channel video you see will be out the week of the 15th. But in the meantime, over on the subreddit, we've been talking about maybe starting an Idea Channel book club, and it looks like something that we're interested in starting with is maybe a Borges short story. So I'm gonna write some updates about that this week and next, and maybe we'll get that rolling. So check in over on the subreddit if you are interested in that. In addition to the subreddit, we also have a Facebook and an IRC. Links to all of those things in the doobly-doo. And the tweet of the week comes from Dooman001, who points us towards Left 4 Bazinga, which continues the trend of creatively skinned video game videos that we started with the Dark Souls of crabs. I feel like maybe there's a playlist in the works here. Anyways, Bazinga, it does involve Big Bang Theory. I didn't think I would want to see this video. I grinned, bared it. I don't regret it.